Welcome, everyone. I'm Allie McPhee, owner of Modern Goddess Lifestyle, where I help women balance their hormones naturally with nutrition, self-care, and divine feminine empowerment. Now, a little bit of science and hormones, how stress affects the hormones, is you can think about it this way. So, back in the day when we were living out in the wild in tribal communities and a lion was chasing us, we needed to get away. So, what would happen? This naturally occurring stress response. So, the adrenals would produce cortisol as well as adrenaline that would spike. Insulin would also spike. This would give us energy. This would get our brain to start thinking quicker, would get our bodies and our muscles moving faster so we could get away from that threat. Well, nowadays we don't quite live in these tribal communities outside so close to nature. However, we do have real threats in our modern society that feel like we need to survive, such as, missing a car accident by a split second, going into work and having our boss yell at us, having our children fight and be smacking each other in the back of the car while we're trying to get them to school, having an emotional experience where we are having a dispute with our friend, our parents, our lover. So much can come up in our modern day world that feels like a real threat and a stress. And it's all valid. But what happens in our body is the same reaction. We are having this stress response, and it doesn't always have to be physical or emotional. It could be digestion stress. You could be eating foods that you're sensitive to. If you're eating gluten or dairy or even soy and you don't know that you have a sensitivity to it, or even too much sugar, this can impact our body's digestion, creating inflammation, which is a stress. It can create foggy thinking. It can lower the immune system. So there can be multiple stressors in our life that are real situations, and our adrenals can be producing cortisol, adrenaline to handle those stressful situations. And so even though we're not running away from a lion, we still have to handle what's in front of us. And if we live these lifestyles where we are constantly on the go and we are not taking enough time to rest and activate that parasympathetic nervous system, which is the restoration response system, rather than the fight or flight, which is the sympathetic nervous system, if we don't have enough time with the parasympathetic, relaxation and surrendering and opening up to pleasure and rejuvenation, if we don't have enough of that, then our blood is going to be constantly elevated with these high levels of cortisol. So what happens when that occurs is that our body needs the hormone called pregnenolone to make all the different hormones. It needs to make the thyroid hormone. We need it to make the sex hormones like estrogen and progesterone, testosterone, and we also need it to make the stress hormones like cortisol. So if we have these elevated levels of cortisol in our blood, then pregnenolone is always going to be stolen and funneled into making stress hormone rather than the sex hormones, the thyroid. And so over time, if we are constantly fueling to help this high cortisol and create more cortisol to deal with the stress response, then that's going to mean that our thyroid is impacted, our sex hormones are impacted. That can mess with your menstrual cycle as well as your menopause transitions and increase some of these feelings that you're experiencing, like the intense PMS, the intense cravings for food, the hot flashes, the mood swings. All of these things can be created due to all that energy funneling into making the cortisol, the stress hormones. So I'm sharing this all with you to remind you how important it is to do these self-love practices and to nourish your goddess temple. So today we're going to be talking about a number of ways to do that. We're going to be talking about pleasure. We're going to be talking about loving your body. We're going to be talking about adorning your goddess temple and honoring your body like a temple, as well as we're going to be talking about nutrition and delicious foods like aphrodisiacs that you can incorporate into your daily diet to help nourish yourself from the inside out.